Hello everyone, Bashar here. So we did a short intro video about season 9 mechanics, and this season I wanted to try out something old actually. So my man Spiritborn is back in action. If you've been checking the best, the highest pit clears are made with Spiritborn, but I was not interested in that. So you might recall from the time that I was actively streaming Diablo 4 when the expansion came out. I was playing Quill Volley Spiritborn, and there are lots of variants right about now, but mostly the stuff uses poisons and balazan. I believe that was what's it called, the new legs that was added to the game with patch 2.3. But as I said, I wasn't interested in that. I wanted to play the classic that I cleared pit 150 with during the first season in hardcore. That was due to the character being broken all around, right? All of the passives were uncapped where they should have been capped, and damage was insane. The build was very powerful. So but it's still playable to this day. And you might remember from my Path of Exile videos, I do a bit of a tiering. I would say this build would be D, maybe C tier. It's a bad build, right? But as I said, I wanted the nostalgia. It's not very enjoyable. So it's very quick on its feet, right? That's pretty good. But the damage is awful. But if you want to do escalating nightmare dungeons and whatnot, it's still pretty decent. So there are very little changes. So this build actually has much stronger variants, but I wanted to remain loyal to the old build as much as I could. So what do we have here? For a helmet we have Harmony of Edawaka. That's what's different. Everything else is kind of the same. Sadly mine is not really very good. The percentage is pretty low. It has to be decent, right? The unique power, 22% out of 30. So we have a Shroud of False Death as the chest. So about the season, guys, I was getting a little bit frustrated with Diablo's trade system, or the lack thereof. So I wanted to play this season without any trading at all. So I didn't play solo self-found because there are the boss rounds, etc. But I did play self-found. There is no trade here, not one rune. If you're wondering how I got everything, well, whatever resplendent sparks I got, I did the random mythic crafting. That was lucky enough to give me Ring of the Starless Skies. Ring of Starless Skies, there is no D, I think, yeah. And with the Shroud and the Shaco you'll see on the other character, I got really lucky, right? Almost back to back I got them both. That was insane. Because if you want to craft a specific mythic unique, you have to get 6 legendary runes, 6 specific legendary runes. That is, if you are playing solo, that's not going to happen, right? Very hard. Anyway, so on the chest we have Shroud of False Death, or if you don't have the Shroud, you can replace it with a chest like this, Disobedience, because we want more armor. If you remember from the first season of the expansion, we actually want to go over cap because we convert the additional armor into damage. You'll see we have redirected force. So there are multiple variants for this build. There are many variants, but I'm talking about this one. So you could go for restoring your resource with a Ring of Midnight Sun, or you could restore your resource with just this lucky hit. And if you are wondering if that's enough, it is enough, because we are casting 8 feathers with a single Quill Volley, and they have a decent amount of lucky hit chance, and this is for every single feather, right? So that means even on single target you will be filling your what was the name, vigor, every single hit almost. So it's gonna happen pretty fast. So what we want here is lucky. So these are unique, so we only want the effect here. In here we want the life and the all stats. We also want the greater effects on those. On the glove we want attack speed, lucky chance to restore resource, and core skills. I don't have that, as you can see. At some point my life was a little bit low, so that stuck and I couldn't get better. And as you can see, the masterwork has rolled pretty nice. So the difference between this build and the original one, you actually want pretty high quill levels, because you know none of that brokenness exists anymore. They have all been nerfed. We have layered wards for on the leg plates, and for tempers we want vortex size and eagle damage. For the pants, yeah, you want basic skills. I wasn't very lucky with the ancestral pants. I did get like 2 or 3 with basic skills, but both of the additional modifiers were bad, so I couldn't reroll it. Right? I mean, you want greater FX basic skills and one more acceptable one, and then you reroll the other. Sadly, not much luck there. As you can see, our rune word is Ahu Kax. That is gives us a lot of offering, and then we get 100% damage up, and our attack speed is insane, because our attack speed means, so we don't need crit with this build, and we don't need cooldown reduction, because it kind of auto resets everything at all times. You'll see. So you want a lot of attack speed, because our attacks actually refresh our cooldowns. On the boots you want duelist, and you want a combination of armor and resistance to cap your stuff. As you can see, I mean, I do have some, yeah. So armor we want over the cap, and resistances we want capped. As you can see, I have barely capped them, so you have to do your paragons, etc. To cap it, and no, we will get to why they are 78 and not 75. We have a Kepeleke. That is the thing that's been keeping me down very hard. So you want the greater effects on the chance for core hit skills to hit twice. This is, you know, literal damage up percentage. So whatever this percent is, that is that much damage up for me. So mine is on 52%, so I have 52% damage up. If I had the greater effects and triple masterwork there, that goes up to like 95%, and that would mean like 30% damage up for me. And also, sadly, my unique power is also pretty bad. Yeah, I had the most rotten luck there. I had a lot of Kepelekes, but you know, never anything. So this one has a nice secondary, but greater effects is on garbage. So yeah, maybe that could perform better than the one I have. But yeah. And on the amulet we have adaptability. Basic skills. So thing is, Kepeleke will convert our quills into basic skills as well. So anything that benefits basic skills helps us. So, and thing is, it doesn't convert it. It does add another tag. So it's a core skill and a basic skill at the same time. Resource cost reduction is useful because Kepeleke allows us to drain all of our resource and spend it and make us deal more damage, right? And the thing is, when the resource cost is reduced, the skill behaves as if it's actually draining more vigor, right? So right now I have 253 vigor, and I have like 45% cost reduction, so it will behave as if it's draining like 350 or something like that. We definitely want the great graphics on the armor, because we want our armor to reach 5,000 actually. That's the cap. Not very easy to reach, but it's possible. My gear is not that ideal. Yeah, and you want the Ring of Starless Skies. That is a bit of a must. Almost makes a huge difference. Cost reduction by 50%. 50% increased damage up. You want the great graphics and all of the master working roles in the core skills here. And finally, we have unyielding hits. That's the thing that makes us utilize more armor. As you can see, 30% of our armor is added to our weapon damage. And just so you can tell how good this is, take a look at my weapon damage. It is something like 550, right? You have to take a look at that and average it. So my weapon damage is approximately 550. And take a look at how much this can add. It can add 1,500, which means almost as much as 300% of my damage, which means this quadruples my damage if I can cap my armor. But it's not very easy to do, so there's that. And you might see some special gems in there. So we use Ahukax and Pokwe, right? If you want more mobility, you can use Ignitja for teleport. We use emeralds in our gear, right? The other slots. And in here we will use Horadic Jewels Season 9 theme. We have this one. This is, I think, almost a classic for everyone. It's very nice, right? 6% max life, 6% primary core stat, and these are multiplicative. It's huge and unhindered. And on top of that, we have increased 20% elemental damage, and we take 10% more damage. And finally, we have this one. We will get to the Arcana. So every single unique school will give us 5% damage reduction and 1% max all res. That's why I have 78 max resistances, right? Because I have 3 different schools, so that gives me 15% damage reduction and 3% max all res. Let's take a look at that. I have Disintegrate. I can use it on the Hunter as well. Doesn't matter too much. Disintegrate with Smoldering Amber to blast away the walls. And we have 3 different things. Size increase, this is not really very good. Days, these are to get different schools really, and this is 50% barrier, which is insane, right? Very, very good. And with Spiritborn, it's not a layer of defense. We have some special legendary node that gives us more damage thanks to this as well. So these have different schools, as you can see, power, control, and denial. That's why you could change this into this one, because our damage is not really very controlled, so we can use our damage. We can use our catalyst to deactivate damage resistance auras, right? When you have targeted damage, it's not that bad. You can hit the guy, but Quill's is not that controlled. Some guys could get in the way, so this could be an idea, but then we would have to change it then, because of the legendary gem. So let's take a look at the skill tree. You can refer to the written guides on max roll for these, of course. I'll just go over it quickly. We have some placeholders in the first basic skills to unlock the second level. We use advantageous Quill Volley to do vulnerable and more feathers. We use the passives here, vigorous and balanced exertion and follow through. We have these passive shenanigans here, mirage and unrestrained power. This is pretty good. We use measured vortex. Vortex is very important because our damage is a little bit. So we cast 8 feathers and we can shotgun with them, right? We can hit the target 8 times with a single hit, right? That's how our lucky hit operates, and that's also increasing our damage. But because it arcs, if they are far from us, that will miss, right? Only a few feathers will hit, so that's why we want to gather them together with the vortex, and that's why we want vortex size as tempers. We have measured ravager that gives us resource generation. We have apex, focal point, and diminishment. We have armored idea for our resolve stacks and additional damage reduction. We have counter attack here. We have resilient. Resilient is pretty important, guys, because with Spiritborn, I found it a little bit hard to get a decent amount of life total, so that fixes you up, right? Because this kind of works all the time, because we will use Gorilla as our primary spirit. dominant, brilliance, potent, furnace. On the amulet, if you can get potent, is pretty good. A lot of damage there. And we have the hunter, these 3 passives, and we have prodigious tempo. So this is what removes the requirement for cooldown reduction, right? Because we will hit 3 times and it will give us skill ranks, and also it will reduce the cooldowns, right? And we are getting guaranteed crits from Kepeleke, so we don't need crit strike and we don't need cooldown reduction, but we need a lot of attack speed, so because we will attack in very quick succession and all things. So let me show you a pit run. I think I can handle 80s maybe, but I'll just go 70 here. I'll also do a potion for an attack speed. It should be okay. The boss will still be suffering, but the mobility, I will make up for it.
Anything could be lurking here.
As you can see, the gathering is pretty good. And as you can see, I basically have no cooldowns. And you see it, this cooldown is actually 30 seconds or something, and it just gets up constantly. So my glyphs at around 60-ish, so there is room for improvement. I could also do the master working better, but that's it. I think it can handle maybe low 80s, and if I made it a life pursuit, maybe it could handle 90, but that's it. This is not a good variant, right? So the reason that I played this is I was nostalgic and I wanted to play the OG. So you could say, this does look okay, right? But this is kind of the break point, right? If I go a little bit higher, the trash will start to survive quite a bit. I will show you the bosses. The bosses will not be very pleasant. So, most endgame builds actually destroy Torment 4 bosses, right? Very quickly. That's not the case, right? It is struggling a little bit. I was much squishier up until recently, then it was frustrating, right? I had to play like a minute maybe for a boss fight. Tiniest mistake is fatal, because the bosses have a lot of one-shot mechanics. As you can see, the damage resistance sort of was a bit annoying, but yeah. So very mobile, that's good, right? For pretty decent for escalating nightmare dungeons. But yeah, bosses are not the best. And you can use the ultimate, if you want to act spoiled, you can use the ultimate as a mobility skill, because it does do a bit of jumping. You can scale the cliffs. You can cover distances, move from pack to pack. But if you feel like you need mobility, which you shouldn't, but as you can see, you can use, let's say, Ja as a rune word instead of the Pokque. Pok gives us the barrier. Pokque. So as you can see, the trash part is, I suppose, pretty acceptable. I guess I also did get a little bit stronger since I was last here. 70 was a bit painful. I think I did it in 8 minutes, 9 minutes. Now it does look much better, but the boss will be slow. So, you just spam all buttons at all times, kind of. Because we virtually reset our cooldowns at all times. Doesn't really matter too much. I will dedicate another video to the resource management, because that is complicated. Most people go with Ring of Midnight Sun. That sadly does require calculate the complications. My nerd alert videos. I will do a nerd alert video just for that. Because the thing is, you have to be filling your resource and emptying it, constantly. With the Midnight Sun, if you don't have the right amount, that will, reduce your damage by a lot. Why? Because Kepereke only works when it's full. Okay, so yeah, it was on 60s. Okay, let me show you a boss now. So guys, season 8 brought this and I love it, right? You can teleport to, boss layers. Beautiful. It's quality of life stuff. So do we have any bounty on any boss? There's Duriel. I'm a little afraid of Duriel. Let me see if I can pull it off. Last I was there, it was not pleasant. But yeah, I'm a little bit stronger now. Maybe I could handle. But you'll see the damage will be lacking, from your usual perspective of boss fights. Let's go. I didn't go into the Paragon, did I? Let's also get over that. After this, stay here, jump. Yeah, see? The damage is not impressive. It is going a little bit better. I remember, actually. Okay. So now he'll burrow and will chase us. He will spawn 3 pangs, which we need to kill. Pretty awful, but we made it. Oh, yeah, 1 shot. Well, I thought I did get a little tankier and I would, avoid that 1 shot. Turns out it still does kill me. I mean, 11k HP and 11k barrier. Wow, kills 1 shot, eh? Let me try once more. But you see the problem, right? Because, if you play something else, the fight really goes pretty quick. These bosses have a lot of one-shot mechanics, so there is a lot of time for those one-shot mechanics to trigger. By the way, the build is permanently unstoppable thanks to the Armored Hide. Armored Hide gives us unstoppable for like 4 seconds, and we can actually do it much more frequently than once every 4 seconds. So, borrowing time. The Pangs do survive for so long though. So weird. I mean, I thought I would be killing those a little bit faster. Of course, when you take a long time to kill these guys, Duriel is more likely to catch up to you, and then you will have to keep this phase longer than it should be. A bit tiresome all around. Let me try to dodge that now. Okay, so it will get a tad little bit better now, I think. Oh, no, it didn't get better. Borrow time? Maybe? Yeah, so it's not very pleasant, as you can see. I mean, we can pull it off, but you should, go normally away pretty fast. catches up, it's gonna be bad. Okay, that's one. And I have to be careful with that again. Oh. Got it. Got it. But as you can see, these boss fights, normally last for, some seconds, that's it. Right? And, Duel is one of the harder ones. I think I have the mats on the other side. Okay. So yeah, if you want to play this build, you better group up for bosses. You can handle them. Maybe, a little bit better on masteries, maybe somewhat higher Paragon. Masteries, I meant masterworking. And let me show you the Paragon. We have Colossal, Hubris, Revenge, Spirit, and Talent. That is almost like the original build, I think. We go for all the rares that are meaningful for us. We go for 2% life ones. We go for the resistance ones until we can cap our resistance. We do not really go for armor ones, even though armor helps us. 15 armor just doesn't do it. It's not worth a point. We obviously trigger all of the secondaries for our glyphs, right? And so yeah, that's about the shape of it. The resource generation thingies are important, so these will be reserved for the nerd video I'm talking about. Resource generation is actually sadly is working multiplicatively. I have videos on that, in the Path of Exile part of it, but additive and multiplicative, it's a huge thing when it comes to ARPG games. And they literally mean what they say. If something is additive, you have 2%, you have 4%, you have 8%, and you will get 14% bonus. If you have 2%, 8%, and 4% multiplicatively, God help you, you need a calculator, right? But it will be something like 15.5% or so. The thing is though, if you have many things, then it would be taking you much further than what additive would do, right? So resource generation is multiplicative for every single source. So for example, as funny thing is, that will go for that other video, but I'm just demonstrating a point here. So we have 8% resource generation here, right? And we have 2% here, and we have 2% here. This is not 12%. This is an 8% bonus on top of your resource generation, and then another 2% bonus and another 2% bonus. So that is going to get calculated as times 1.08 times 1.02 times 1.02, right? And as I said, there will be many nodes, right? There is the Vigorous, there is the Ravager, there is the resource generation that you get from your intelligence. If you wear Shroud, there will be Shroud. But suffice it to say, this will be actually amplified to more than 100%. That's why you were seeing my Vigor filling up fully and then emptying, right? It fills up thanks to the glow, then Kepeleke empties it, we deal huge damage, and it fills again, blah blah blah, right? So thing is, one of the things that is keeping me down is this Kepeleke, right? I mean, if I had great graphics on the core skill and actually the decent unique power, this is on the lower end, as you can see, right? The average is 0.30. I just, as I said, couldn't get, and I tried quite a bit, and I kind of gave up. But if this was nearer 50% and it had the great graphics on the core skills with somewhat decent master distribution, that would have been better. So I would say the Torment 4 bosses would be much more handleable. And yeah, that's about it for this build. As I said, this is not a good build if you are feeling nostalgic. If you played it, the Spiritborn on the first season, the absolutely broken one, the most broken build there is in the entire history of Diablo 4. Yeah, then that's the one to go for. But normally they use Balazan and Toxic Skin and Poisons. Should I have? Yeah, this one. They go hard at Poison and Thorns. And yeah, deals pretty decent damage. So Spiritborn is the best by far. They are like 15 tiers up in Great Rifts compared to anything that comes close. The thing that comes close is the Hydra Sorcerer, which I will have another build for. But that's generally about it. I did forget to show you the we go Gorilla and Jaguar for the spirits in the Spirit Hall. And finally for the mercenaries we have Rahir here. This is pretty good. And we have Altkin. The reinforcement is tied to Vortex, and when we cast Vortex he helps us with Field of Language because we pull everything together, right? And then we take 20% less damage. That helps. One thing to keep in mind, Rahir gives us 15% all res here, right? That does get turned off when you're in a group. So, for example, I'm not resistance capped when I'm in a group, right? I will have to receive help from an incense if I want to be resistance capped and I want to in a group. Keep that in mind. If your mercenary is providing you some sort of passive bonus, they will go away, right? So the reinforcement will not provide you the bonus, and the active mercenary will provide you the bonus, but they will go away in a group. So this one will also get cancelled. I mean, if you are finding yourself dying pretty often in groups, that's the reason, right? I mean, if you are barely armor capped, when you use here, you will lose a lot of armor because it gives you 15% armor, right? So for example, let's say you have around 1700 armor and Rahir gives you a bonus of, I don't know, like 285 or something, 255, and you cap your armor because of the 1000 penalty that comes from Torment 4, and Rahir goes away, you lose 250 armor and you will be taking tons and tons more damage. Why? Because our perception is, guys, our physical damage reduction is capped and we take 85% less damage, right? Which means 1000 damage comes our way, we take 150. But Rahir goes away and your armor goes down to 250, 750, and your damage reduction is 60, which means 1000 damage comes your way and you take 400. Right? Imagine, your perception was taking 150 damage, now it's 400. It's almost triple, right? That's what people miss out on stuff, right? This is what gets confusing, right? In Path of Exile, in Diablo, you have to cap your resistances because, and the armor in Diablo, right? Because people are like, it's only 15%. That's not the thing. Your perception is the 15% damage that you're taking, right? And now it goes up to 40%, which means you are almost tripling your damage intake, and that's why, boom, you're dead all of a sudden. Have to be careful with that, and that's about it. I will do a special video on resource management. That is a complicated thing that should not be covered as part of this video. But another thing, if you are going to play with Midnight Sun, and I will conclude with a Midnight Sun here. So if you don't have this one, if you don't have this Starless Skies, you go with a Midnight Sun, and you do not need this lucky thingy on the glove that will manage your resource. So the percentage on the Midnight Sun is very important because Kepeleke only drains all of your resource and boosts your damage when your resource is full. So that means when Ring of the Midnight Sun works, it has to fill your vigor, right? Every single time, from empty to full, right? If you get like 80% back, then Kepeleke will not trigger, which means you'll be wasting time every single time when you are trying to deal damage. Because guys, imagine you hit, you recover 80% resource, that's not enough to trigger Kepeleke, then you will have to hit again, you will recover another 80%, 60% of that goes to waste, and then you'll be able to deal damage. So, being able to work this calculation out is pretty important, and there are multiple sources of resource generation. You can get it from Tempers, you can get it from some Paragon nodes, you can get it from Ravager, you can get it from Vigorous, a passive, right? You can get it from Shadow Fawcett. If you have Shadow Fawcett, it will definitely be enough, but earlier on it can be different. And also this percentage is very important, right? If you have a low Midnight Sun the amount of resource generation that's required for you to reach, could be literally impossible. Right? It might not be achievable. Right? So definitely stay away from low midnight suns. Right? I mean, do not go below 41% or something, because I think it works in multiples of 3. So there is no 25% midnight sun. There's 20, 23, 26, etc. Right? So 38% is very hard to pull off, I think. But 41% can be made to work. And I will leave the rest for that other video I mentioned. And I will see you in another video. Bye bye.